Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to the next session, which is the Ireland Forum, in which we will be looking at the implementation plan 2021 to 2025 for the Cleaner Pacific program. The purpose of the forum is to present to you the implementation plan that was endorsed at the second SPREP Executive Board in 2020. And with that endorsement was also a request to members to work with the Secretariat and other partners to improve regional management of waste and pollution over the next 5 years using the updated implementation plan. To start our session, we'll hear from the Secretariat team, our team from the Waste Management and Pollution Control Program, who'll present to you the Cleaner Pacific implementation plan. And as you're aware, with the Cleaner Pacific 2025 strategy, the regional waste and pollution management strategy for the Pacific. And it's a regional blueprint, which is critical in bringing together the joint efforts of SPREP's regional partners, namely the EU, AFD, JICA, Australian Aid, UNEP, the GF, IMO, and New Zealand MFAT, to assist Pacific Island communities to improve waste and pollution management practices in various waste streams, which include municipal waste, asbestos and e-waste, healthcare wastes, and of course, wastewaters, to mention a few. To achieve the vision of the Cleaner Pacific 2025 strategy and the implementation plan, it's imperative that there is a shared responsibility by all key stakeholders. And to this effect, we are requesting the Roundtable this week and next to adopt the Cleaner Pacific 2025 implementation plan. And we welcome all comments and views to enable the progress on the implementation of activities in the Pacific. At the end of the presentation by the Secretariat, we'll open the floor, and please raise your hand electronically or use the chat box for any questions related to the presentation. Otherwise, please save your questions for the Q&A session at the end of the presentation. I'll now hand over to Tony Talewooli, our Acting Director of Waste Management and Pollution Control Program. Thank you, Tony.
Stuart, thank you, and welcome again all the participants who are tuning in from wherever you are. So as Stuart has highlighted, the session today is to take you through the Cleaner Pacific 2025, its next implementation plan of 2021 to 2025. This is the Island Forum, and this is your opportunity to have maybe additional comments on the implementation plan. As Stuart has already mentioned, that this plan has been endorsed at the Executive Board meeting last year, and we are presenting it to raise awareness of the implementation plan, but also to seek your further comments and further views or practical measures to implement this plan. So this is the plan of the Secretariat, but also your plan as well. As you've heard in the previous session from the Director General Kosi Latu, in some of the highlights of the Cleaner Pacific 2025 was that the previous plan was quite ambitious, and there's no harm in being ambitious. What we saw from the review of the previous implementation plan was a list of 124 activities. So there's a lot of activities that we've set ourselves up to achieve and to complete and to implement. I think what Kosi had already highlighted as well is that the lack of monitoring framework, the lack of framework to monitor the progress of the implementation and to assess the progress of activities of work done to implement the implementation plan. In the review, we saw that there were good progress in many of the activities.
Tony, sorry, just to let you know that you have been unmuted.
Sorry. And out of the 20, performance indicators, that only 6 had good or had exceeded the level of achievement and that met the 2020 targets. And I will touch more about that later. What we have now, and this is the plan that has been endorsed, is an implementation plan that has a smaller number of activities that addresses priority gaps that have been identified in the midterm review, as well as priority issues that we have that are emerging and that are important for us to tackle in the next 5 years. We note that all the activities that are in the implementation plan are linked to the Cleaner Pacific 2025 performance indicators and strategic goals to allow for a better assessment and a better assessment of how we are tracking in achieving the goals and the objectives of the Cleaner Pacific 2025. And the scope hasn't changed. The Cleaner Pacific addresses all of the waste issues that we are facing with. And to name a few, it's the municipal solid waste, hazardous waste, marine pollution, disaster waste, and liquid waste as well. So the scope remains the same. The number of activities have been reduced so that we are able to achieve better and be able to monitor better. Everything is linked up to the goals that are in the Cleaner Pacific 2025. In a nutshell, what we have for the implementation plan is this diagram that we have in terms of to achieve its vision. We've got a reduction of 124 activities to now 32 activities. We still have the same 20 performance indicators, but the 32 activities are directly linked to the 20 performance indicators. We still have the same strategic goals, 1, 2, 3, and 4, achieving the same mission to implement practical and sustainable solutions, and also to achieve the same vision for a cleaner Pacific environment. So in a nutshell, this is what the implementation plan looks like with 32 activities. So please allow me over the next couple of slides to go through each of the strategic goals, each of the activities and the performance indicators, so that we are all clear about what's in the implementation plan for 2021 to 2025 as the blueprint for waste management and pollution control activities in the region. So first up is the strategic goal 1 for the prevention and to minimize generation of waste and pollution and their associated impacts. So this performance indicator for strategic goal 1 is the per capita generation of municipal solid waste. And the target for 2025 is 1.2 kgs per person per day. And you've heard previously in the Honorable Minister's opening remarks for New Caledonia in the difference between the waste generation per capita for the rural versus urban sectors in New Caledonia. So this is 1.2 kg per person per day. And the activity that we are seeing to implement those are listed here. And they're up there. We have all Pacific Island countries and territories, all member countries and territories where this is a priority. And the activity 1.1 is to implement measures to restrict and regulate the importation of sale and use of potentially wasteful products, particularly targeting single-use plastics, targeting the polystyrene, low quality goods, and so on. The activity 1.2 is to develop and implement waste minimization education and behavioral change programs in partnership with schools and churches, community organizations, and the private sector. And activity 1.3 is to implement community-based projects to raise awareness of marine litter through the installation of litter booms, litter bins, organized cleanups, and so on. So these are just 3 of the activities for Regional Goal 1. This is just one of the goals. Another performance indicator for strategic goal 1 is the number of marine pollution incidents, and the target for 2025 is 0. This is a very difficult goal to set. We hope that it's 0. And the activities for this goal is to have national pollution prevention strategies for all Pacific Island countries and territories. That's activity 1.4. Activity 1.5 is to actively resource, apply, and monitor and enforce the 2017-04 Conservation Management Measure on Marine Pollution. So this is for the WCPFC CMM. And that's applicable for all Pacific Island countries and territories. Now, the third performance indicator is the number of port waste reception facilities established. And that is, the target is to have 5 by 2025, sorry, to have 10 rather, by 2025. And the activity is, there's 2 activities here. 1.6 is to undertake port waste reception facility gap analysis in accordance with IMO MARPOL procedures. And the priority picks are there on the screen. Islands, FSM, Kiribati, Palau, Papua New Guinea, Samoa, Solomon Islands, Tonga, Tuvalu, and Vanuatu. And 1.7, to prepare guidance and assist PICs with the development and maintenance of port waste reception facilities. And this is applicable to all PICs. Now for strategic goal 2 and the 4th performance indicator is waste recycling rate amount, which is the amount of recycled, used, returned, and amount recyclable in terms of a percentage. For strategic goal 2, which is to recover resources from waste and pollutants, the target for 2025 is 75%. So 75% waste recycling rate to be achieved by 2025. And the activities, 3 activities, 2.1, 2.2, and 2.3. 2.1 is to develop a regional recycling association to facilitate networking, information sharing, and capacity building across national recycling associations. You will note that there is a consultation session on the last day of the Clean Pacific Roundtable. That is next week on Thursday, the 25th. Which is to have a consultation for to raise the concept and the idea of a regional recycling association. This is applicable to all PICs. Activity 2.2 is to evaluate existing resource recovery initiatives and make recommendations for improvements and potential replication regionally and nationally. You will note also that there are several sessions throughout the Clean Pacific Roundtable around resource recovery, around sustainable financing, and there is a deep dive session on Friday the 19th. This is applicable to all PICs. And activity 2.3, to establish material recovery facilities to support waste segregation and recycling. This is a priority for a few of the Pacific Island countries and territories, as seen on the screen: Cook Islands, FSM, Nauru, Niue, Papua New Guinea, Marshall Islands, Samoa, Solomon Islands, Tuvalu, and Vanuatu. Moving on to further down to strategic goal 2 and the 5th performance indicator, number of PICs with national, state, or municipal composting programs The target for 2025 is 18. Number of pigs with national, state, or municipal composting programs, 18. And the activity here is to establish new or strengthen existing composting projects for the integrated management of organic waste streams. You will note that the sessions around technology innovations, there are a couple of presentations in the technology innovations as well as circular economy on composting. And the priority Pacific Island countries and territories are outlined on the screen. That's Sinai, Cook Islands, FSM, Kiribati, Nauru, PNG, Samoa, Solomon Islands, Tonga, and Vanuatu. Moving on and still with strategic goal 2, the 6th performance indicator is the number of pigs with advanced recovery programs. And many of these you've heard in the opening remarks and the keynote addresses, commonly known as container deposit programs or EPRs and so on. And the target for 2025 is to have 12 pigs with advanced recovery programs. That is an ambitious target. The activity for this is to support pigs to draft, consult on, and enact regulatory and policy frameworks, instruments to implement container deposit programs. And the priority pigs are there on the screen for you. As I mentioned already, there is a deep dive on sustainable financing on Friday the 19th. The third promo for the deep dive. The next, and there's another activity which is to support pigs to develop and implement management plans and establish formal public-private partnership to support extended producer responsibility programs for used oil. And the priority pigs are outlined here. And then the third activity for this is activity 2.7 to support pigs to develop formal public-private partnership that establish EPR programs for e-waste. So you have used oil and e-waste specifically outlined as activities. Moving on to the next strategic goal 3, to improve life cycle management of residuals. The 7th performance indicator is the number of pigs with national, state, or municipal user-pay system for waste collection. And the target is to have all pigs to have national, state, or municipal user-pay system for waste collection. There are a couple of activities here, but the main one is 3.1, is to investigate factors for successful user-pay waste collection systems and support pigs with the establishment of new systems that suit the national context and whatever that may be, whether it be in terms of collection bag fee or other means. And the countries that it is a priority is for the countries that are listed on the screen. Moving on, the eighth performance indicator are the strategic goal 3. The percentage of the population. And this, there are 2 units of measurements. One is for the urban and another one at the national level. So the target for 2025 is 95% for the urban sector and 75% nationwide. So this is the percentage of waste collection coverage. And the other indicator is waste capture rate. This is the amount collected versus the amount generated as a percentage. And the target for 2025 is 45% capture rate. And the activity, my apologies. And the activity to assist with this is to undertake time and motion studies to inform waste collection coverage, efficiently and safely, especially after hiring of new contractors and so on. This is applicable to all PICs. I think many of these activities may seem trivial and maybe fundamental and basic, but they're quite essential for establishing foundational and enabling activities to enable the proper waste management and the sustainable waste management. Moving on to performance indicators 9. For strategic goal 3 is the number of PICs with well-managed climate-proofed waste disposal facilities. We've yet to determine a target for this, because at the moment, I think we've only got as far as I know, maybe 2 or 3 that are climate-proofed waste disposal sites. Okay, and some of the activities that are for this performance indicator, there are 4. There are 3.3 to 3.6. 3.3 is to improve landfill infrastructure by upgrading and climate proofing existing landfills. This is applicable to some of the PICs there. 3.4 is to develop operational manuals and maintenance plans for landfills and other waste disposal facilities, including OHS and safety measures. And 3.5, to develop national plans for disaster waste management. And 3.6, to support PICs to improve their waste, chemical, and pollution equipment maintenance equipment. And this is applicable for all PICs. I should add that 3.6 is something that the JPRISM and the JICA team are embarking quite innovatively with their online training of heavy equipment maintenance for waste management, particularly those bulldozers and trucks and so on. Moving on to the performance indicator number 11 under strategic goal 3 is number of national strategies for safe and effective asbestos management and remediation. The target for 2025 is 5. The number of national strategies for safe and effective asbestos management and remediation. Target is 5. And the activity for this is 2, 3.7 and 3.8. 3.7 is to support PICs in developing national strategies to regulate, ban the importation of asbestos and implement safe and effective asbestos management and remediation. These are applicable to 7 of the countries listed here for Cook Islands, Kiribati, Nauru, Niue, Tonga, Tuvalu, and Vanuatu. And 3.8, to support PICs to safely collect, remove, and dispose of legacy waste, including asbestos and DDT. And these are also applicable to 8 of the countries listed here. Moving on to performance indicator 12 under strategic goal 3, quantity of healthcare waste stockpiles in tonnage, and the target is to not have any stockpiles of healthcare medical waste. So the target for 2025 is 0. And the activity is 3.9 to ensure appropriate management of healthcare waste, including correct operation of incinerators and correct treatment of mercury-containing waste. And this is applicable to 10 of the PICs. So this is quite an essential component of the Pack Waste Plus program. The next indicator, performance indicator number 13, is the quantity of e-waste stockpiles in terms of tonnage. And we haven't quite established any baseline for this yet. But the activity to help with this performance indicator is 3.10 is to establish the baseline data on e-waste stockpiles and support PICs in developing e-waste extended producer responsibility programs and recycling system. And that's applicable to the 5 PICs that we see on the screen. Moving on to performance indicator 14, quantity of used oil stockpiles in terms of tonnage, metric tonnage. And the target for 2025 is to reduce the stockpiles down to about 1,500 tons of used oil stockpiles based on the baseline that we have in 2014. I should let you know that there is a used oil deep dive session that's happening immediately after this, and that'll be in French, and that'll be led by Julie, who is looking after the swap program. To assist with this is to establish collection, treatment, and recycling and disposal systems for used oil. And I think the countries that we have there are the countries that are in the swap program, but also others. Now moving on to indicator number 15 is number of PICs providing secondary and better wastewater treatment. The target here is 7 for 2025. The number of PICs providing secondary or better wastewater treatment. And the activity is 3.12, is to develop and construct pilot decentralized liquid waste management programs and sludge treatment facilities. At the moment, this is priority for Solomon Islands and Tuvalu. Indicator number 16, number of endorsed, indicator number 16 for strategic goal 4, to improve monitoring and reporting. Number of endorsed and current national strategies, policies for waste, chemical, and pollution management with monitoring and reporting frameworks. The target for 2025 is 16. So 16 national strategies endorsed. The activities for this is 4.1 and 4.2 to support remaining PICs in the development and endorsement of national waste management strategies and plans. It's almost applicable to all the PICs. And 4.2 to establish national waste, chemical, and pollution steering committees to support the implementation of national waste management strategies and plans, and the coordination and monitoring of waste, chemical, and pollution activities across responsible agencies. So these are the 2 activities. For the performance indicator number 17 and 18 under strategic goal 4 is number of PICs with water or environmental quality monitoring and reporting programs. The target is 14. At the moment, we have 11, so the target is 14. And the indicator number 18, number of PICs with waste, chemical, and pollution monitoring and reporting programs. And we want to have the target for 2025 is 10. So number of PICs with waste, chemical, and pollution monitoring and reporting programs, 10. So we're getting that. And the activities to help implement that is 4.3, 4.4, 4.5, and 4.6 is develop, publish, and disseminate a standardized monitoring and reporting system and database linked to SPREP's Inform project, covering waste, chemical, and pollution management activities and the receiving environment, applicable to all. To develop and implement national systems for routine monitoring and reporting for the receiving environment, applicable to all. And 4.5, to develop and implement national systems for routine monitoring and reporting for waste, chemical, and pollution management activities, applicable to all. And the last activity is to support PICs to prepare national chemical inventories and to be compliant with their obligations under chemical related MEAs applicable to all. Member countries and participants, what we are hoping is that at the last session, at the closing, that we would have this implementation plan to be adopted as an outcome of the Clean Pacific Roundtable, of the third Clean Pacific Roundtable. So what we're looking for is your comments throughout is your comments today on the implementation plan, and also your comments throughout the sessions that we'll be having, and we'll be looking at some of the inputs further into the implementation plan for the final day for adoption on Thursday, the 25th of November.
Yeah, thank you, Tony, for that clarification. And the presentation, the detailed presentation. As we're now running down to the last 10 or 15 minutes before the next, the parallel side event and the deep dive side event start, I think we should probably roll together any particular questions on Tony's presentation with the Q&A session that we had scheduled afterwards. So the floor is open, and I would encourage everyone to ask the pertinent questions that you can that are of interest to you. Thank you. So, Tony, we have some questions up there for you.
Oh my goodness. Okay, Imogen, thank you for the question. So the first question is, I'll just read out the question, is to please clarify about the life cycle management of residuals from what waste. So residuals is what's left over from the use of the product. So this would be, you know, in terms of the advanced recovery fee and deposits that we're trying to put in. As we've seen from Palau, Kiribati, and Tuvalu, it could be in terms of you know, everyday containers, from PET bottles to cans to tin to glass, and from other products, which could be you know, used cars and so on. So the list could be endless, and it could be really up to what would be valuable as a management of the waste. Usually countries start up with one or two products, and then they extend it to include many others. So we've seen, for example, in the Cook Islands, I think you've also got cardboards on your list. E-waste as well, and many others. So I hope that answers the question. Others, please feel free to answer the question as well.
Well,
okay, so the other one is that the landfills have become contaminated sites, waste dumping, so we need to have remediation plans under Jeff Islands. I think that there's not, the countries have chosen what their priority items are under Jeff Islands, and I believe that it's only Tonga who has selected landfilling to address remediation or to address landfilling as a priority under Jeff Islands. I believe that the Cook Islands have chosen e-waste as a priority, as well as the priority under Pack Waste Plus. So they're benefiting a lot with prioritizing e-waste for both projects. The other question is, yes, I think that we've got that. The question is with regards to electronic products, particularly computer, especially it's under schools and under universities for educational means, and maybe also for workforces as well. I believe that we've got under e-waste the issue around maybe having particular standards for particular, we have particular trade standards, and we're trying to establish this for certain products. Maybe those same similar approaches can be applicable to other products such as electronic items. So as to maximize the circularity around those products. So whatever is being imported is being able to be reused and recycled in a circular manner. Maybe just a couple more questions.
I think you'd have to go through all of them, Tony.
For all of them.
What the Q&A is for. But if any of your team can answer them.
Yes, I'm just.
Steve, the top ones are all from Imogen.
Steve, okay. Maybe I'll go down to Steve from SPC. So Steve is writing, SPC Land Resources Division is keen on the green organic waste. We have in organic movement, Pure.com, members who have started a small commercial compost, dry and other like fish waste, etc. Some of these have, green waste is gold. Steve, we do agree with you, and we look forward to your participation throughout the other sessions, which composting will be well featured. Who's controlling?
Controlling from the
Okay.
So do we have, we've got some more there. Another one? No. What about the question about waste and chemical inventories?
So this is a question from Imogen again. Waste and chemical inventories, few PICs have incorporated the chemical and waste conventions that they signed up to. What can we, if you prefer? Yes, I think that's an issue that we see. We have all the countries that have signed up to the Stockholm Convention. A few have still left to sign up to the Basel and the Rotterdam Convention. And there are commitments under those conventions to have inventories in place and have institutional arrangements and legislations and so on. The assistance is there through the BRS Secretariat, through the Waigani and the Basel Center here, and the Pacific Center here at SPREP. And we're always looking forward to helping countries in that respect. Joshua, did you want to?
I can answer.
Okay.
Thank you. It's Sefa Nawandra from UNEP. Just some of those questions that were asked by Imogen. I think this regional plan needs to be looked at in context with and complementary to the various national plans each member state has, because the obligation under the various conventions, BRS included, is a national obligation. So you need to meet those obligations through the national implementation of activities. What UNEP and SPREP have done is we've tried to help with countries to do that through the various projects and initiatives, including special consultative mechanism with the BRS Secretariat. We've had a meeting already. It's meant to be every 6 months. I think it's overdue now by 1 or 2 months, so we'll need to have that soon. So those mechanisms are in place to help. But I just want to stress that this is a lot of the things that are being asked here are national obligations. Our job from this end is to assist the countries. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sefa, for that. Okay, well, we have just a couple of minutes to go.
I think we acknowledge the work that is happening in Fiji, especially with regards to composting, and we'll be featuring the local city council with composting example in the circular economy. Okay, yes, Talewooli here. The implementation plan is on our website. It's in English and in French as well, but we can send you the link as well. Okay, so maybe just before we close, and I hand it back to Stuart, I just wanted to go back to the issue of the adoption of the implementation plan for 2021 and 2025 by the Clean Pacific Roundtable. The process is that we would be open to any comments and any suggestions to be sent to us. We've got these on the chat. From what I can see, there's nothing in the chat that would need to, in terms of changing, amending what's already in the implementation plan. But if there's any more or any further comments and suggestions to the implementation plan, the activities or the target, please do let us know during this week and its lead up to next week on Thursday, the 25th, where we will be at the closing session is to adopt the implementation plan as well as an outcome statement for the Clean Pacific Roundtable 2021. And with that, I just wanted to mention the outcome statement for the Clean Pacific Roundtable. We're inviting, we are inviting anyone who wants to be part of the review committee for the outcome statement. Please forward an email to the CPRT email address or to Naire or to myself, indicating that you are volunteering to be on the review committee. The review committee will meet at least 3 times prior to the closing session and the adoption of the outcome statement at the last session on the 25th of November. And the review committee's task is to work on the different drafts of the outcome statement so that the outcome statement is accepted by acclamation at the closing ceremony on Thursday afternoon, the 25th of November. So just once again, if you would like to volunteer to be part of the review committee, please send an email to the CPRT email address or to Naire or to myself. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Tony, and thank you everyone for participating in this afternoon's forum and for expressing your interest through the number of questions that we have received. As we progress through this week and next week, you will have the opportunity, and Tony has mentioned the contacts that you can give us more information, the opportunity to input to the implementation plan as we head towards its adoption at the end of next week. It's very important, and quite clearly there is a lot of interest in this critical issue, these critical issues around waste and pollution. And we're very confident that we're going to come out of the end of next week with a good comprehensive implementation plan and an outcome from this meeting. So thanks everyone once again, and that ends the forum session for today. Thank you.